Welcome this Thursday morning back once again to the Beef and Barnzy show. And as usual, I'm joined by the brains of the operation and certainly the talent. Beef Stu, how are you this morning?
Pretty good, yeah. I'm excited about the show today. I think that we can give our viewers a kind of behind the scenes, definitely a different perspective from the players' perspectives of guys who have been on every show this year. They're the guys behind the guys who have won every show this year.
Much like this show, these guys are the brains behind the operation. So I don't know how much longer we should wait. Actually, there's not been a whole lot going on since Tuesday. So
no, I've only once badly.
And I didn't even do that. So, well, I guess our first guy, a man of many, many words. As a matter of fact, he tried to attempt to organize a hurricane in the effort to not have to talk today. He has the most extensive shoe collection on the PBA Tour. He has been the head coach for Thailand. He's done about 17 other things that he won't tell anybody about. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'll leave that up to you. But he is Storm's tour rep and the man of the hour, Shawn Ryan.
I guess he's not going to talk.
You start. All right, cool. Hi, Shawn.
Hello. There we go.
Oh, dear.
I don't even know if that's on purpose or not. That's kind of what we expected.
I'm blaming the hurricane.
Everybody's a comedian. Here's just quickly. Here's my old lane guy from Phoenix. Yeah, Mike, need you all the time. Gotta stroke that ego.
And joining him is the other man who was on every show this year. Well, at least between the two of them, between these two guys, they every title on tour was won with one of these two guys at their back. He is, gosh, there's a lot of ways I'd like to describe Eric, and I'm struggling with how PC to be here. I mean, he's not really Chuck's bitch, I guess. So he's taking over my substitution.
Chuck's successor.
He's what?
Chuck's
successor. The successor. He's been in bowling for a long time. He's actually one of the nicest guys on tour, and he is now Brunswick / Ebonite / all the other brands to be named later. And all of the 7 of the tour reps now. And we'll welcome to the show Eric Krauss.
Thanks for having me, Chris, and thanks for that wonderful introduction. That was nicer than I thought it was going to be.
Well, I give what I get, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true.
He does
the sign.
You do have one of the most challenging jobs in bowling, trying to keep up with which direction Dom's brain's going to go in next.
Which weight it's going to be.
Which weight, which company, which arrow.
Yep. We're still at 16, I think, this week. That'll change probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's on lockdown, though, so you should be fine.
No, he said he was still practicing, so.
He's going to come back as a straighty. He's going to be a knuckle.
But he got a Weber Cup. He did not. I'm just saying. So that was
okay. So I was struggling before till about 15 minutes before this. Oh, that's very amusing. Just sorry. The reason why this is so amusing, Mark, is because Shawn is a shoe guy, and my wife wanted to make the board about Imelda Marcos, so you would have appreciated that one. But anyway, I was trying to find out all of the winners this year, so we could, briefly go through it, and if there was anything that you guys found interesting. So, Eric, you were first up. You're off to a hot start in the Hall of Fame Classic. Tommy Jones won.
Great.
That was a long time ago.
That seems like that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a 6-month or 8-month break in between, it literally was almost a season ago, kind of the way it broke out.
But Tommy kind of got fortunate because he managed to avoid having to bowl against Chris
in the final.
Oh, but he didn't.
Yeah. No, he bowled against Tommy, my relationship with Tommy is completely backwards because in the finals I bowl like a hero, and everything up before that I bowl like it is a final, and so I bowled that game. I caught the transition game after bowling a couple pretty good ones and shot about 112, and let Tommy have pretty much a lineup game, which he actually didn't use at all because he needed still strike in the 10th or mark in the 10th.
Yeah.
And I would have put the over under in that title match at about anything over 218 was a winner.
That's funny you mentioned that. We had that same discussion with him, is that, anything like 220 is probably a winner. And then he went out and bowled 300 using 2 different balls. So that was a lot of fun to watch.
Did he change his urethane, the urethane he was using?
Yeah, he went to a stronger one.
So we still had the balance. We didn't have balance holes. We did have balance holes. I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, we still
did.
So what was the main difference between those two that made them stronger?
Off the top of my head, that was it was a stronger VAL angle and then a bigger balance hole, if I recall correctly.
So between the two of you, with the urethanes now, because I think that, to me anyway, looking at it, the thing that's made the biggest difference, I think, with the balance holes is the urethane balls and what you can do with them, because most of them have much smaller cores. So what are you guys experimenting with that may or may not work for people at home? If they had one with a hole in, what would you suggest they do with it?
Since Shawn is so eager to jump on that one, I'll take that one. Actually, just stronger layouts, stronger pin distances, like going like 3.5, and then stronger VAL angles. So like 20, 25, 30. Shawn, do you want to weigh in on that one? No.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it where just most of them are 3 3/8, and then just kind of dictate how quick or how slow it is by the pin buffer.
Okay. That's kind of what I was thinking. And in general, when you have the shorter pin buffer, you get a bit more flare out the ball as well as the pin also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for the geeks out there who understood that, good info.
What are your thoughts on a Rico drilled fast pitch? I think it's illegal. So moving along. Without a weight hole, that drilling, someone who uses it a lot, not so good.
No.
So,
when you have somebody like Tommy on the show, who's almost been on more shows than you've been on, what do you say to him? How does that conversation go? Like, do you have a different conversation with him than you would have with, say, one of your younger guys who's not been on anywhere near as many shows?
Yeah, I think with Tommy, you don't have to, he's not going to get caught up in the moment. He's not going to have, as many butterflies or nerves, or that's not going to affect his performance. If it were, say somebody like, I'm just going to pull like, maybe Andrew, who hasn't been on a show in a while or something like that. It's just trying to get him the best ball reaction and let him go do what he does. With guys like Tommy and Bill, it's pretty easy. They have so much experience. It's just trying to get them the best ball reaction that we can, and then let them go do what they do.
Okay. No, that's kind of what I would expect. Like with Tommy, it's much more of a black and white. It's not really an arm around the shoulder. It's more this lane's doing this from what we see. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And in general, is Tommy more of a, when you're giving him tips, I guess, is that more of a ball thing, or is that more of a, we think that ball's going a bit long, you need to make it a bit sooner? Is he more of a guy like that?
Yeah, I would say he's just kind of more of a, hey, this ball is doing this. I think you need to get out of this ball. Or this year's been a little unique with, we acquired Ebonite basically a month and a half before the tour started. So it was trying to learn those guys' personalities, what they expected from us, and then getting them used to, we didn't have a lot of the, the quote unquote EBI balls on the truck. There were still some on there, but getting them into the balls that were made in Mexico from our plant. So it was a challenge a little bit, and we relied on those guys' experience of what balls they threw in from Kentucky and stuff like that. But yeah, Tommy's just kind of more of a, hey, this ball's, what do I need to do, and go from there.
Okay. So Shawn, you're up now.
All right.
Shawn Ryan, second week. I found it kind of funny from the outside anyway. People say that there's you have this like get to know the balls period. And then you had Tommy win with Brunswick, never thrown Brunswick till about 3 weeks before it. And then the second week you had Shawn win, never thrown global balls until about 3 weeks before. So what did you learn from dealing with Shawn? He ran the whole ladder that day as it happened.
I mean, he's actually really easy to work with. He just kind of asks a question, gets the information, and then goes and does it. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it, honestly. He'll run a couple questions by you, and then once he gets what he's looking for, or if he still has more questions, he'll continue, and then off to the races. That show was more about just keeping the surface fresh every time in between games. He could just keep doing the same thing because we all know he can throw it hard. So if he can stay in the same spot and keep doing his A game, then it's right in his wheelhouse.
From what I remember about that one, he was pretty much the only guy who was using reactive on the short lane, which seems to be kind of Shawn's MO on those shorter patterns. Like when he gets on the TV shows, it seems like he has a really good feel for being able to stay with the reactive and just commit to it. Whereas the other guys kind of just create more hold for him by using the urethane balls. Right.
Yeah. I mean, he can throw it so hard and he can tumble it so dead end over end. I mean, he doesn't ever get it to really over bounce. The only time he gets it to over bounce, I feel, is when he gets the ball into a swing a little quick, and then he gets the old yank down from the top, squeeze, twirl.
You got anything, Chris?
Yeah, and that kind of answers the Rash. Rash does use way more responsive bowling balls than most everybody does on the short patterns these days. And if he's actually the opposite. If he gets through the first couple of games, it seems like it gets better for him instead of worse. It's a little different.
He doesn't really so much use strong balls. He kind of uses like quick response balls now, doesn't he? Like recently.
He has a lot. Although that Ordnance Pearl is not quite as long flippy as it seems like it would be. But anyway,
that flux solid's pretty smooth.
What's that?
That flux solid's pretty smooth. He uses that quite a bit.
Yeah, I like that one as well. It has a long window, and so lets you do a couple of things and tumble it and still get a little change of direction out of it. Question out of the chat for the upcoming season: who do you guys think will have a breakout season that didn't win a title this year?
I'm gonna go with Packy.
Okay, you understand that.
I know how much you love Packy.
No. I understand. No, we are quite pro Packy here.
I know.
Packy would definitely have a breakout year if the regional lane guys were doing the lanes.
He'd have a lot of competition, though. So.
Well, it's not that much. There's about enough lefties on tour to fill a TV show.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, Frank. Not AAJJ. Frank is our best AAJJ troll, and
he's got strong competition though.
Oh yeah, there's a few.
What about you, Shawn?
Man, probably Darren, I guess. Darren. I mean, he made a few shows. Yeah, Darren or Nick.
All right. Asked if we allow surface in between games you are on TV.
It's a different round.
Basically a different block because there's practice in between.
It's quite an interesting next question.
Thoughts on getting a pro shop guy in the booth for the telecast?
Depends which pro shop guy.
Yeah. I mean, getting on there and talking is not as easy as everybody wants to make it sound like.
I agree.
No way.
Here's another good question, but also a difficult one. When do you guys tell a guy to get out of a urethane ball? What are the I guess the best way to describe that is, what are the key signs to look for when you know that the urethane is doomed?
When it starts to get too forward down lane, and then when you try to get on it, there's no hold. it's probably time.
Yeah.
Or Jacob never.
Also that.
Although he shot 300 on TV this year without using a without
he did.
Take
He
that,
did.
Eric Krauss.
This is for the tech version of this. The trend seems to be putting pins closer to the, or extremely close to the VAL, the variable access line, for those of you who don't know. So just straight up from where your PAP is, making those super tall pins for a lot of guys. And basically want to know why they're doing it and what's the end result. Eric, go ahead. You'll always go first because Shawn won't talk first ever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just think they're just trying to get a faster response out of the ball. I think sometimes it can be to a detriment, but for a lot of players, it does work. I don't think there's any one fits all solution, but I think that's probably what they're trying to do without knowing the player and what ball they're putting it on and what they're bowling on. But that would be my best educated guess.
And is it the same for players that roll more end over end versus guys that have a lot of axis rotation?
I would actually probably guys that have actually probably have more, again, it depends on the environment, but guys, to use a player that's in, that we just talked about with with Shawn Rash, it's something that we started to do a lot the last, when he was with us the last year and a half, 2 years. And he likes to roll it more end over end. So yeah, that would be my gut feeling on that, what they're trying to accomplish.
What about you, Shawn? When you're using those type of layouts, what are you really trying to get from it?
I like to do it when the lane starts to get clipped. That way they can throw it at it quick and don't have to. It's going to respond off it quick, but I always feel like it blends it out better. And then if you miss inside, you don't 210. At least it still has some quickness to it off the end of the pattern. So I like to use it when they get clipped. And in Japan, it's the overwall is very prominent.
I think one slight misnomer that people have when they look at those layouts is, in my mind anyway, they feel like that it's going to make it more angular, and it's just going to go through its transition faster.
Right.
So what you're saying about on the cliff, it makes it go from trying to make its curve to going forward much more quickly. So on a drier lane, in a lot of ways, it actually makes the ball almost end up being smoother. But on a tighter lane, it will make it a hook. It'll make it pop more, I guess, is the best way to explain it. So it is like there was a long period where people thought if you put the pin high, the ball went long, and if you put the pin down, then it hooked early. That's way too much
False.
of a simplistic way of looking at it.
Yeah, we'll move on from there. It gets more complicated, and I think it's too much. So we'll keep moving on. So we go to week 3 now. Week 2, Rash runs a ladder in Oklahoma. Packy is on on that show. I think Brad Miller was on that show as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a couple of first timers in there. Jesper was on that show for the final. I believe he was the leader.
Simonelli was the leader on that one.
Oh, Simonelli was the leader there. There we go.
Yeah, that continued the trend of really high scores in the final. I think Shawn shot 289.
Yeah.
300 week 1, 289 week 2.
Yeah, I think for like the first 3 or 4 weeks.
The scores are always massive. Never.
I'm trying to forget Jonesboro. That was a choppy water for me.
Again, a 2-pattern tournament. There's relatively, not really short, but relatively short on the right, and then a really long on the left. And good week for me. Made show, a nice little run on the ladder. We'll get in the final, and then the fro was my own doing.
Real quick on that.
But this is where you bodied. Hey, AJ.
Yeah. I forgot about that. That was just that was a speed bump on the way.
Yeah, you bodied him.
Now this is truly an insider take on this. So that week we practiced. This is completely true, right? So we're in the bowling center, right? And bearing in mind that I finished, let's call it fifth last, and Chris came second. And when we finished practice, I felt like I had a pretty good idea of what to do on the shore. And I said, it's really going to come down to the long, like for me. Chris said, wow, I'm glad you feel that way. I've got a lane turned back on to practice some more. I haven't got a clue what I'm doing on the shore, right? Fast forward to about game 4, and I had 2 strikes on the shore. And I said to Chris, I guess I should have stayed with you and practiced a little longer. When you let go of it and it's at probably about 25 feet and you know it's not going to strike, but you don't know which way it's not going to strike, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, that was an interesting show. I think another thing to have when you have multiple guys on the shows, and both of you have had that. Storm has 2 or 3 reps out there. Eric, you have 1 to 2, sometimes more.
Usually 2.
How do you guys handle that when you got players bowling each other?
It's a disaster.
Yeah, he's not wrong. We always just try to give them, the best information that we can, and then just go bowl. It's really hard to, thankfully we do have usually 2 guys out there. If it was just 1, it would be a bigger disaster. But so you can sometimes we'll just take 1 guy that if we've been working with that person, a little bit more that week, Chuck will take that guy and I can take the other one, or vice versa. So, and then cheer for the one that wins, as Linda says.
Oh dear.
I kind of leave it open. When they're bowling each other, I don't like to yell at the person to change or do something if I'm seeing them doing wrong, if they're bowling, our own person. I'll kind of let them just come to me. That way I'm not looked like I'm playing favoritism towards one or the other. And it's a sticky situation. It's not that much fun when it's going on, especially when you worked with one player the entire time, like all week long, and then they get to the show and then, now you're kind of hands off. It's not great.
Yeah, I don't like that idea either to myself. Like in Jonesboro, for instance, we just kind of split up, and you were my
Right.
guy, and then Kyle was with Jimmy, I think.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, I prefer that. Then I feel like I can actually say what I want to say versus, well, hey, if he's
right, because now you're giving me, now you're giving me information, and that's another thing. I usually try to make it pretty clear. Like if you tell me something, then it's fair game for if they come and ask me, hey, is that right lane tighter? And you just told me the right lane's tighter. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your job is to help both guys bowl good.
Right.
So that's kind of like a little delineation of it. And it gets hard when you have one guy. If you're there to do it with both guys, then it just means I just don't share any information, which I don't think that's best for the brands either necessarily. Now, how do you guys handle that if it's before the show and you guys are bowling, say, position round to make the show and you're both on there? Now, how do you do it? Stu's philosophy is basically just hands off. You guys go bowl, and that's how you feel the throw should be.
Here's my theory on it from the outside. Your guys' job is literally to get the brand to win and to get the brand as much exposure as possible. So if you get to a situation, any situation, where the result is irrelevant to the exposure the brand gets, i.e. Jesper's playing Belmo, it doesn't matter who wins that match because one of them's going to make it and one of them isn't. I'm on the team of, it doesn't matter, you've done your job. Like if Storm had 8 guys left in the top 8 in one of those World Series tournaments, I'd be quite happy that you guys could go and have lunch. You've done your job. You've got a perfect ladder with 4 Storm guys. You've done your job. You guys did awesome. See you later. Go and have some fun. I don't have that many supporters on my team for that. But that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, we're there to get as much exposure for our brands as possible. and we achieved that goal. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably kind of fall somewhat in that camp where you're somewhat hands off, but you still have to try to be there. And if somebody does get lost, and it's, I guess there's no winners in that situation. So on our end,
Depends if you have an incentive package or not.
that's a good call.
Or if one of the guys is a strong tipper and the other guy isn't. Note to all players.
That's a good point.
If you tip really well, the ball rep's way more likely to help you play on.
From a rational standpoint, Stu's thing makes sense. The problem is when you're a player, you do very much care which one of those guys.
100%.
and so, but I do feel like when you guys are flowing back and forth, that the exchange of information changes a little bit because it's a fair game. And if it's going to be that way, all you want to know is up front, hey, we're going to be talking to both guys. Okay, then
Right.
I'll ask questions and get answers versus just downloading all the nonsense that's in my head, which Shawn's pretty good at listening to and just nodding. Speaking of, we had a question somewhere in here. Let's see. What players are impossible to give advice to during a squad, and who are more likely to take your advice? Go ahead, Eric.
I feel like I should remove myself from the stream.
I think we're both targets here. I'm not sure. But.
Yeah, can I say players that aren't on my staff, because that would maybe certain players have I guess streaks where they don't do that. Sometimes Osku can just kind of go a little bit off the rails and just do his own thing.
Kind of a Finnish thing. He had a senior of his that did the same thing once in a while.
Yeah. Jacob can be kind of just get in his own little world, I guess I would say, and then just kind of space out and do his own thing. Most of the rest of the guys are open most of the time, but again, they just all have days where they're gonna be like, I'm not, screw you. So you just gotta take it with a grain of salt and not take it personally. I have a really good relationship with Dom, but sometimes Dom just wants to do his own thing, and I know Shawn knows that better than anybody. It's just like, this is what I'm gonna do, and whether you think it's a good idea, a bad idea, or he's gonna commit to it, and he may bowl 112, or he may bowl 290. So
if you ever want to look at a time that Dom did something he decided to do that nobody else thought was a good idea.
A U.S. Open show.
Oh, no. Check out the Viper show about 5 years ago when Mika won. And check out the Storm people at the back, not the ball reps, as Dom was bowling a smooth 125 and didn't miss on the one lane. It was a display. He decided that he was going to use urethane, and she didn't want to play ball. They were impossible. He had a 4 count with urethane. Yeah, it was. All they kept doing was panning to the crowd, and you see like Dave or Bill just going. In Happy Gilmore.
What's your answer there?
I don't think any of the players are impossible to give advice to. Some are more stubborn. It's one of those things where you just give the advice, and they're the professional. Yeah, bye. They're the professional, and they'll take it and use it how they want. If they use it right away, cool. If not, they have to try a few things first that they had in their head that may not have meshed with what you said. Then eventually they'll get to it. If they don't see what they like, and many times I've had at the end of the tournament, I should have done what we talked about. It just, I couldn't get out of my head that I was seeing this and this is what I thought it should be, so I had to try it, which I bowled at one point. I understand.
How's that different from, you coach the Thailand national team? How is tour versus coaching a national team? How's that different?
That in Asia, they listen to you forever. Like you could tell them to stand on 20 and look at 10, and there could be zero oil in the lane, but they're not going to move until you tell them to move. Like they will just keep doing the same thing over and over until you tell them. That was really hard my first year there because I just assumed they would, start to move as it transitioned. Mm-mm.
So you were ready to bowl. You were ready to rep the left-handers on tour then.
Yes. Yeah. That's the easy part. I'm left-handed, so I know how stubborn we can be.
Here's a great question. Greg Thompson, do you feel bad when you give advice that doesn't work?
Once again, it's on the player. We're just there to give information that we're seeing. So, no, I don't.
So, yeah. I've got a different question, though. How many times do you suggest something, the guy throw it, it doesn't work, and then he comes back and he says, I didn't really throw that one well, but deep down you know that that's not going to work. Do you ever go,
it was close enough. Let's try something else. Yeah. Yeah.
All the time. I can tell you I've heard that from him before. Yeah, you didn't throw it that great, but I think we could probably move along.
You got 3 off the right. I know it wasn't ace, but
let's get out of that one.
Can you move a 10 and 12 with your eyes? Shawn bowled at one point. Weird.
Yeah.
Hi, Cliff.
So move on. What's the most different way you have to talk? Do you talk to everybody the same way? Do you handle all the personalities? How do you handle that? I mean, some guys you need,
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Chris. They're not coming to me for that.
I don't think that's definitely not my personality type either. Yeah, you have to talk to everybody a little differently. How they're going to perceive the information. How I talk to, Bill is going to be different than I talk to, Dom or Tommy or Andrew or Packy. That's part of the job is learning, at least for me, is learning how those guys want to receive information. So I don't know if Shawn has a different take on that or.
No, I mean, you can't talk. Sorry, just Linda's comment made me laugh. You can't talk to them all the same. I mean, there's no way I can talk to Chris the same way I talk to, the younger kids. I can't talk to Darren like I talk to Chris. So it's about learning personalities and figuring out what works best. Some people like it just dead blunt, and some people like they're, coddled, which then I send in Jim because that's not my forte either. It just kind of
forte either.
Just kind of, yeah. It just depends on the player, and you develop a relationship with them, and once they trust you, then it gets easier. You can be more blunt, and that was just a terrible shot, or versus, yeah, I didn't think you threw that one very well. Maybe we can try to throw it a little better next time instead of that was god awful. What were you doing?
I get that.
Which one of those was me? I'm just trying. I'm curious.
You like to be coddled. Yeah, you're the non-coddle guy. It's okay. It'll be okay.
Shawn gives me you do understand that your right foot hit your left ass cheek when you landed. You didn't really think that was going to work, did you?
Yeah.
I guess you're trying to be Ronnie Russell here, but
here's the one that gets you in the most trouble answering this question.
Well, that's an easy one actually. The guys, it's always the ball, and the women, they never throw it good enough.
Yeah, that was Mike DeVady's phrase that I heard him say.
Yeah.
He goes, on the men's tour, nobody's ever thrown a bad shot. On the women's tour, if you listen to him, nobody's ever thrown a good shot.
Nope.
That's a perfect way to word it.
So we're going very slowly through this look back, but quickly. This is for Eric because we're kind of skipping over the TOC and we'll be back to it. Going into the players, that was like literally started about 27 hours after the TV show at the TOC. how did you talk? How was the conversations with Bill after he bowled so incredible at the TOC to lead going into that week?
I mean, we just tried to. I mean, Bill only bowled, I think, 205, 210 something. I mean, Prather shot 280. There wasn't much we could have done differently. I mean, it's hard to beat 280. We just tried. What's that?
No, definitely. I just really meant about. Did you need to? Was it really all on Bill about how he got himself back up to get going again?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Bill didn't really have any. There wasn't really any like hangover or anything like that. I mean, he bowled. We just took the positives. He bowled great all week, and then tried to build on it for the players. It wasn't really anything. There was no. I had to talk him off a ledge or get him pumped up or anything like that. It was just move on. Let's go to the next week.
That's a good question.
How much therapy do you need after a season of advising?
About a 36 pack.
So
3.2.
Yeah.
Shawn just needs a very dark room and nobody else in it.
Yeah, silence is perfect, and air conditioning that goes really low. And I'm in business.
Yeah, good air conditioning, good internet connection.
Yeah.
Nobody else around.
I don't know. I think some good IPAs on a daily basis help kind of mitigate.
Yeah, I mean, you can get home and have a nice little 9 or 10%er and sit in the dark room with nobody talking to you. It's great.
Man, the great and the good.
There we go.
Yeah.
Short Kent has joined the chat. It was that left-handed surface.
Different swirls. It's different swirls.
I can't say. It worked for me when
So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about the TOC with you, Shawn. How excited was Prather the fact that that Belmo decided to scorch the middle of the lane and then not play as far left as he did?
Prather's he actually doesn't analyze it that much. So like he'll look at it, but then he's kind of got a game plan of what he wants to do or what he sees the lane developing to, and he just goes with it. I mean, when he can get left and just spin it out there and throw it to the right, and he's nice and slow, then it's game on for him. I mean, he throws it pretty good. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just felt like when we saw what had happened to the lane, we were like, this is really lining up to be really good for Prather.
Yeah.
We were a little confused by the direction that some of the players went in.
Yeah, I mean, when Prather and I talk, it's just kind of, what do you think? Do you think it's changed that much? Or I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think you're gonna be good to go to gear down and chuck it on over there.
Preach.
Yeah. The one thing I'm most jealous about with Chris is that he's figured out what he does best under the gun so early.
Yeah.
He's made great shots when he needed to. He's figured out, he can do a lot of different things, but he's figured out the thing that separates him a little and what he does really well. And it certainly paid off a lot already.
The machine didn't realize which order the bowlers were bowling in. That's what happened. The question was, what happens when Prather got back-to-back 7-10s? This was just the other day on the playoff show.
We skipped about 8. We skipped about 8 balls in between. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the players. Then we had the U.S. Open. That was another one of your favorites there, Shawn. Two of your guys bowling each other in the final.
Yeah, that was miserable. Yeah.
And that was watching that was a real, like, Simon's, as a bowling purist, Simonson leading by that far, and then watching him be on a lane where he was so close but not quite. And then he had the comments that he got were just hilarious. Like, people like, do you think you really needed to hook it that much? Well, the thing is I led by 400, so I probably had a pretty good idea of what worked in that bowling.
Yeah. Just all week.
Yeah. So yeah, that's always a fun one. I mean, I understand when people do crazy things on the show, but like, it wasn't really that weird what he was doing. He was just like literally 1 ring 10 away from winning.
Really? People second guess what happens on the show?
Yeah, no, weird.
They never critique it. I never get a text ever.
Hey, I watched for 14 minutes this week. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
Yeah. I tuned in to Flow Bowling that one lunch break, and then the TV show. Weren't doing the same thing. I don't get it.
Yeah.
All right.
Trust me, we used to bowl the US Open at Carolia. Every year, the guys would start off at like 25 the first shot of practice. It's like, well, that's what they were doing on the TV show.
Yep.
I remember one year at Carolia, Devaney took a guy's ball off the lane because it was so dull. And he said, nope, not today. This is before we even started practicing. Nope. He goes, after this block's done, I'll go and get you a new ball. Not throwing that one. Nope, not today. Nope, my family responds. I feed my family with this paycheck. You're not going to ruin it. Nope. Just took the guy's ball off the rack. So then we went on to Indy, the Jesper Svensson show. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what to say about that. There was 2 patterns. Jesper could forget where he was stood on one and still strike on the other. Like, he could literally be like, oh, I stood where I was supposed to stand on the 42 on the 37, but I still struck. When Jesper's got that thing going, is there really anything you need to say? Because he seems to get in the zone and he doesn't really feel like he doesn't look too needy from the sidelines.
No, he's not needy in general. He's kind of a shy guy, actually. I finally got him to open up probably like around that time this year, as far as talking about bowling balls and stuff. Yeah, you just kind of get out of his way and watch him strike. Much like the other lefty on Brunswick over there.
Yeah,
but weirdly, they virtually never do very well the same week.
Never.
Well, one rolls it quite a bit, and the other one basically is a amped up version of Mark Roth on the left. So, I mean, he's got a very urethane-ish release as far as trying to spin it through the front and kind of doing some things. So,
someone said Moldy had the same reaction on both lanes too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite the same as how Jesper had the same reaction.
No. I mean, Moldy had good reaction.
There's so much definition in the track there. The right doesn't play that good between 5 and 10 on all the pairs. It does on some pairs, but
I just need to answer this question. Marshall Kent says hello.
Well,
hey, Marshall.
If you're a little older, I think Walter led one up in Canandaigua by miles.
Yeah,
the one that Dell won. So
I just thought that when they put up the stats, they said that Marshall led by the most, and then the very next year, Simonelli led by even more.
Did he?
I might be wrong.
No, I don't really know.
It might have been the average that he won. Then, so then we had the weird situation at the World Championships. That was a weird show.
I wasn't there.
Oh, you'd already left?
Yeah, Jim lives there, so Jim stayed and Timmy stayed.
Yeah, we watched that show. Watching that show, that was a bit of a strange one.
First show with no fans ever.
Yeah.
The only people clapping were Belmo's family
and Natalie.
And Natalie, right?
Yeah,
because he's working for the PBA, right? Tackle. Yeah, it was, and bowling for a whole lot of scratch.
I'm going to skip over the summer tournaments because I don't care about them. Let's move on to the World Series of Bowling. So we bowled in Vegas, and we had how many different oils, Shawn? Was it 2 different oils?
3. That's 3
different oils. And then we went to Virginia. And how many oils did we have, Shawn?
1.
And was it the same as any of the oils we'd used before?
No, brand new oil.
Okay. So I understand
in a new building.
The variables changed.
Yeah.
But the one variable we could keep the same, that changed too.
Yeah.
Consistency.
I I thought that it was also kind of entertaining that we decided that balance holes were allowed, even though they weren't allowed last week and they wouldn't be allowed the next week. Found that a little strange too.
Frank, he is.
Yeah, we can talk about it, Frank. I'm not proud. Yeah, I very early on, I told the ball reps, I probably don't need you. It's going badly enough. Don't need any more ideas. When you're missing the head pin, it's not usually ball reaction.
Yeah, this is the edition of Who Got Screwed More?
Yeah. So I feel like Chris Vi was a strong contender for that one. And Chris Vi and the lefties are the ones that I feel like were strong contenders.
Yeah, they were pretty good at South Point for the Southpaws.
Yeah.
I mean, because I guess I feel like the lefties more than Chris, because at least Chris and Frankie both made the World Championship show. And then they got the extra money as well that fell from the sky. But what was it like on the left? Because from my perspective of it, watching it, I felt like the lanes there were awful on the left. But I'm a bit more sympathetic than Chris. So what were your guys' views there?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely thought that wasn't very good at Centerville. Yeah, I would tend to lean towards, like you said, Stu, that or not what you said, but that the lefties got the short end of the stick there at Centerville. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here and that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I mean,
what's the deal?
The topography was terrible there. I mean, it's an entertainment center, so
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, the topography was not great in that building at all.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of those. It was quite strange because if you'd have told me before we went there, all of the variables and the fact that it was, the more the lanes get beat up, usually the more advantage the lefties have.
Yeah, but for some reason the left side was just as bad as the right. I don't know if you saw when Shawn taped the TV pair. It was like,
it was
terrible. And then a bomb exploded like 35 feet down the lane too. That was nice.
That would look like randomly. I've never quite seen lanes. We were talking about it Tuesday a little bit. How much different they were from run to run in that center. I mean, one time it hooked down lane, the next time it looked like there was already urethane had gone down before any balls did.
I mean, when Shawn put the blue oil out, you could see on the seams, like in some lanes it went straight across it, and then on other lanes it was like a gap that big on the seam where, obviously it wasn't straight because no oil was put down there.
Yeah, Frankie's theory, it wasn't necessarily a theory, he was more hypothesizing, I guess, was, do you guys think that when the topography is really bad that the oil in the lanes, it makes it harder to get them more consistent? Like, I didn't really see it that way, but I guess it depends where it's bad and where the lane's different.
Yeah, I mean, because we have South Point's topography, Simo's really good at reading them. He knows where it's going to do this and that before he even gets to that lane. I mean, yeah, I think topography has pretty significant impact on getting them the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but what I really mean is if you're on the same lane, they're talking about just the TV pair and they're re-oiling it every time. Frankie was wondering whether if the topography is bad, it made it harder re-oiling that same lane for it to be the same. Now, to me, that's not varying, so I wouldn't think it would be. But I guess it really depends which part of the lane is bad. If it's close to the end of the pattern it would be, I guess.
And I don't know how much. I mean, we'd have to ask JJ or Shawn, I guess. How much when the oil's settling, if that part of the lane's bad, whether you have 10 minutes or whether you have half an hour to an hour to let it sit too. I feel like that's probably a pretty big variable that I have no idea about.
Yeah, no, me either. I mean, one thing I do know is that when the lanes that guys get to warm up on are nothing like the TV lane. That doesn't help the scoring pace.
With not even there's no new pins on them either. So all week long, you're bowling on the old pins that are in the bowling center usually,
well,
and then
matter.
you get to
your ball would hit a different pin first.
Yeah.
In the practice sessions and playoffs. They hooked like 12 more on the practice pairs than in the TV show. It was crazy.
Jason, right now it really doesn't matter. Now they've changed the static weights. You can basically put any layout on any pin position, like pin to CG distance. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
There was another question earlier about how many guys are using plug balls now, and I think the urethane balls, at least for the moment, there's a lot of guys plugging holes in those urethane balls that roll good to keep throwing them, and they make a little bit of difference. I guess you guys probably know more than me on that, but
yeah, I only saw urethane balls being plugged, and actually it was only Jason's the only ones I saw plugged for our staff, and it was just 2 urethane balls from 2016 and 17, I believe.
Yeah, that's same here. The only urethane balls were the ones being plugged. So perps. Everybody is plugging perps.
Yeah.
Jacob had a balance hole that was about this big.
Yeah.
That big. And he goes, it rolls different now. Only in the brain, Jacob.
Come on. He doesn't slide on the same dot on multiple shots a game.
Oh, do you remember the thing we figured out at the Weber Cup? Like we were laughing about that. We figured out that Jacob and Jesper's release point's exactly the same spot, even though when they finish sliding's about 3 feet different.
Because
yeah, Jesper puts his foot in the ground and stops 18 inches to 2 feet behind the foul line, and that's exactly where Jacob lets it go too. He just keeps sliding for the next foot and a half afterward.
So I think next time I'm going to use my urethane ball. I'm going to move back and start my approach in the seating area so that I can actually I can make the lane like 62 feet. I think that's the key to success with urethane, 62-foot lane.
all right.
I can tell you for
I'll be
sure,
on a different lane.
Sorry, yeah. I can tell you for sure, Josh, that Bill O'Neill didn't hate bowling that ball.
No.
I can tell you that for sure.
And I think Wes Malott was probably okay with it also.
Yeah.
I mean, their team did well.
It's just a challenging center. I mean, you've never bowled there, and it's an entertainment center, and all new variables. I mean, I don't know if it's just challenging.
Yeah.
Tim says, does the PBA use different oils depending on the center or the region?
Last year, I think Shawn just alternated it every other week for this year. I don't know about previous years.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite as technical as I feel like he almost changes the oil to be lip service to the guys who moan that we only bowl on one oil.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of that. I think in general, the idea is because you're promoting, Brunswick has the contract for tour, so we're a lot of times in the past been the guinea pig for whatever the new oil is. And then you find out what it is after that. I mean, that was that way when Kegel was in charge too. And then as far as the region, for the regionals, it's just whatever the house uses. So,
yeah. I mean, like, because on a lot of the regionals, they use Kegel machines.
It's just whatever they have. They have a Brunswick machine, that's what they use. But yeah,
I would say it's probably it's closer than it used to be. But I would say, from what I see anyway, it's probably 3 or 4 to 1 Kegel machines to Brunswick machines when we travel around places. I don't see as many Brunswick machines. All
right, here we go. Who's the biggest crybaby to deal with?
Again, I'm right here.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one.
Wow.
I'm not the biggest crybaby, but I'm just gonna say this so I don't get in trouble. But I'm just gonna go with Dom because he may switch weights 4 times between the tournament, so that way I cannot get into too much trouble with that answer.
Who's the most difficult?
Oh,
I'm not sure crybaby is the right way. From your
Yeah,
probably the one that just is the most stubborn, I guess.
Needy.
Huh? Or
Needy is the word you're looking for.
yeah.
Needy.
It can vary block to block.
Yeah, definitely varies.
Squad to squad. I mean, there's usually really only one guy happy at the end of a tournament. So,
As Linda said, whoever doesn't win.
yeah. So, I mean, we got one guy happy, the rest of them, we didn't do a good enough job.
I used to love giving Prather a hard time. He's grown up a lot, but like there was one tournament where I put him up on both lanes, and I'm like, just throw it. Jim doesn't have to tell you to move every game. Just bowl. You're up on both lanes now, dude. He's not coming back. But yeah.
Shawn, who's the most difficult for you?
Like I said, it varies week to week. I would say one that probably gets in his way the most and then complains the most is probably Vi. Vi tends to get stuck in a negative mindset and then just beats himself down, and then he comes and talks to you, but it's not anything that's worthwhile. It's just a negative conversation. So I really wouldn't say crybaby. It's just like man, woe is me. Yeah, maybe a little bit of that, I guess. So,
I mean, we've talked about most of the shows. What's the most unique thing that happened this year behind the scenes? Before the shows, practice sessions, in between, was there anything that stood out this year that maybe hasn't happened in your experience as a rep?
well, I mean, when Kobe died, that was pretty crazy.
Oh, that got announced during the show, right?
Yeah. I don't really have anything that's absurd.
I mean, the only thing I would say, and that didn't really happen, that happened before the tour start, was the acquisition. That kind of flipped everything on its head in the industry. So, yeah, I can't think of anything like on tour wise.
So, outside of the pitch black and the purple hammer, which ball do you think that you drilled the most of this year?
Oh, it's melee jabs.
Melee jab. Yeah. And that one's gone now, yeah?
Yeah, the purple one is. We have a red one now.
Okay. What about you, Shawn?
Probably not. I would say the idol. Drilled a lot of those.
I was about to say early on in your tenure, you had there was a strong whisper.
IQ.
I was about to say you were a strong IQ tall guy for a little while.
I think it did all right this year, as compared to previous years. Every other week.
Tying into that one, there's another question. So, who are the ball whores?
That's Dom, Simo. Done.
Who isn't?
Andrew likes to drill a few balls.
Yeah.
Shawn likes to drill a couple of balls.
Yeah.
Rash.
Shawn does like to drill balls.
Yeah, Shawn.
Yeah, Rash is a driller for sure.
Marshall Kent.
Marshall drills.
The king, and it's under the radar because he wins every week, is Belmo.
Yeah, he does get about 6. Yeah.
Fresh set every week.
Yeah, it's about 5 to 6 every week.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Well,
Outside the pitch blacks, it's one and done. You ain't coming next week. Don't need transport.
Yeah. Correct.
So yeah. Who are the guys? I think the more interesting question is, who are the guys that you have to almost like probably need another ball here?
Norm's impossible to get to drill a ball.
Does he give you a wrist?
No, it's usually, that doesn't have the top weight I like. It's 16-1. I really want 16-2. Like every excuse in the book to not drill.
Yeah, ounce and 3/8 back to 3/8 isn't a thing anymore. So
no, it is not. It is not. No 7/8 hole back. No drilling an ounce out with a 7/8 hole.
Yeah, I would.
Been there, done
when
that.
When he's out there, Walters doesn't like to drill. It's like maybe you have to beg him and drag him out to the truck to fill out a sheet. And
we were in the mid to late 2000s, and Walter, with his physics degree, said weight holes didn't matter. Didn't have a weight hole in a single ball. And we all went,
What?
You're the one guy that should know this answer out of all of us. Yeah. But to be fair,
a separate show about Walter.
Ball do whatever he wanted to do anyway, so it wasn't like he needed it. So, but yeah.
Each week you have 30 to 40 guys bowling. Who do you choose to get most of your time?
It's not the guy on top. It's usually the guys well below that. It's not
for you.
Yeah.
That's not every ball rep's philosophy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
I never get to hang out with the positive guy who's leading. I'm always hanging out with the guys and trying to get a check.
I can tell you for sure, Chris, that you ain't hanging out with the guys down towards the bottom either.
No, but I
Well, the guys who have no shot. I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah.
There you go. Rick Benoit. Walter said pin placement didn't matter.
Oh, I also got an up-to-date version of that. I was watching one of my boy JR's videos this morning. It came up. I quite like his, like, the whole thing he does. I think it's okay. But he said, I don't really see that I don't really believe there's that much difference between a 5-inch pin and a 5.5-inch pin. And I'm just like, I was like,
about a half inch.
Yeah.
About 3 inches of flare.
And some of those balls.
Yeah. You want to take an idle and drill a 5.5-inch pin and a 5-inch pin? Yeah, you gotta see a little difference there, Josh. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you coming through. I guess who's going to win Player of the Year?
Jason.
Yeah, Jason.
Okay. No, I was just checking because there was a certain other Sweep the Rack podcast last night, which actually had an excellent interview with Bill O'Neill. But they made a case for Bill O'Neill to be Player of the Year.
I would love to see it be Bill, but I mean,
Bill said that I should vote for him because I like funny things, and him beating Belmont for Player of the Year would be funny. That was the best. I don't know, justification that either of them came up with for that being the answer.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
When the guy wins the most important major of the lot, the US Open, and then he wins the PBA's kind of flagship one, the World Championships.
It's hard to be trumped. It's hard to be trumped by the 5-game playoffs.
Where some got the ball on fresh and some got the ball on burn all the way through. You mean? Or they just flipped it when they won it?
Well, it didn't matter because every time the machine went down, it looked like it was different anyway.
True.
That's true.
And half the bracket played on blue oil.
Sure.
Yeah, it was what it was. We were very thankful to get the tournament in, that's for sure. Even somebody who didn't participate, I was glad to see that they found a way to complete the season. Sure.
Between that and the Weber Cup, it was nice to have some competition at the end of the year, and we got a bunch of shows. We got on TV. You know, there was a lot of good things for the PBA in there, and the scores were. You saw a little bit of everything. I mean, you saw 300, so the lanes weren't exactly impossible for everyone. Just for me, I guess, and Stu.
Are we talking about the playoff shots? Was it one of those ones where
there were so few shots to even move off of. Like, what do? You want to move off that?
It's one game.
Yeah, if you could have got a ball to fix a couple of those shots, you were Houdini.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where you watch on TV and you go, "Oh, that didn't look as bad as it felt." You know, like, it's a good thing those camera angles aren't the same. So, really awesome beard. Me, not so much. Yeah, no kidding.
I don't think it's very awesome. It's just very lazy.
What?
Mine.
Yeah.
It's not really awesome. It's just lazy.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I do appreciate you guys coming on, giving us a little insight what happened behind there. And so as we exit, what's the one event that you had a huge role in winning this year? I know you guys aren't pounding your chest, guys, but
Please say all of them.
we need a little bit of truth.
None. I can't throw it for him.
Yeah, I mean that's
No, but you can make some surface / suggestions that get them to do the right thing so that they get to bowl like they want to bowl, and that happens.
I can't think of an instance.
Sean's not going to take credit. That's just not his MO.
I mean, you guys throw all the shots. The players throw all the shots. We just give them information, scratch balls. I mean, that's.
So there's never been a time where you put 500 on ball and told the player 2,000.
Oh,
yeah, that happens quite often. Usually every week.
Has that ever happened?
That's like every week. What do you think you want on it? I think I just need 2,000. Oh, okay. Yeah, 500. I'll go over the top with 2,000 when you walk over. It's just 2,000.
Yeah. Did you hit it with the brick?
What's that thing? A snow tire. Why is it white?
Yeah. It was a brand new 2,000.
Yeah, brand. It's a fresh 2,000.
There you go. All right, guys. You have anything you want to say, Eric?
Just for you, Barney.
You know.
No, just thanks for having me. I really enjoyed your guys' show. You guys kept me entertained during lockdown and quarantine, so it was a pleasure to be on. And look forward to seeing you guys as soon as possible. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Same. You're one of the good guys, no matter what anybody else says.
Yeah.
So, Shawn, here, this puts you in your comfort spot right there.
Yeah, perfect. It's been real. Thanks for having me. We're good.
How many pairs of shoes?
I don't know. There's a couple other closets. These are just the ones that I like and haven't worn yet.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess for Stu and I, anything else?
Nope.
All right. Once again, appreciate you if you would support our sponsors, and we'll leave Eric out of this little part for a minute, but Storm, Rotogrip, Global, Vice, Turbo, Coolweight, 3G Shoes, Dexter, Master, and Bowler Smart. And you know what? There's still room for your company right here. So with that being said, support small businesses, support those bowling centers, help them get through this tough time. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.